February 14th, 1943. Sunday. Rural Pennsylvania. Clearwater Township Farm Cooperative. Vera May Thornton, 27 years old, veterinarian, stands in the Caldwell family's barn and stares at the dead cow. Third one in 2 weeks. Symptoms identical: vomiting, convulsions, paralysis of the hind legs, nosebleeds. Laboratory tests show acute poisoning, but the source remains unclear. Feed checked twice, clean. Water from the well in the yard, also clean. Vera jots in her logbook: ___quote_0__. The owner, Raymond Caldwell, 62 years old, farm cooperative mechanic, stands beside her in silence. His face is ashen. Vera knows this is catastrophic for the family. 3 cows represent their entire operation: milk, butter, cash for winter supplies. She promises to get to the bottom of it, though she has no idea how. She exits the barn, crosses the yard toward the gate. Coming toward her, Raymond's wife, Dorothea Caldwell, 59 years old, leading their grandson Wesley by the hand, 7 years old. The boy is pale, having just vomited on the porch steps. Vera stops. What's wrong with him? Dorothea shakes her head. 3rd day he's been sick. Doctor says it's intestinal flu. But Eleanor's sick too. Eleanor, their granddaughter, 5 years old. Vera asks about symptoms. Dorothea lists them: vomiting, diarrhea, weakness in the legs. Yesterday, Eleanor had a nosebleed. Vera freezes. These are the same symptoms as the cows. Exactly the same. She asks, do the children drink water from the well? Dorothea nods. Of course, we all do. Vera requests to see the well. They walk through the vegetable garden. The well is old, wooden frame, hinged cover. Vera peers inside, water about 15 feet down, looks clear. She pulls out her notebook, writes, retest well water. Connection between children's illness and livestock deaths? Dorothea looks frightened. You think the water's bad? Vera doesn't want to cause panic prematurely. __quote_7__, Dorothea promises. Vera returns to the veterinary office, a small house on the edge of town, 1 room, desk, cabinet with medications, icebox for vaccines. She lives there too, in the back room. Arrived 3 years ago, fresh out of veterinary college, assigned here by the Department of Agriculture's Rural Placement Program. Clearwater Township, the name fits. 120 households, a farm cooperative, community hall, schoolhouse, general store. Nearest city, Pittsburgh, 80 miles over rough roads. Connection to the world. A bus twice weekly and a telephone at the cooperative office. She pulls out the folder with the cow analyses, rereads the report from the Pittsburgh laboratory. Traces of arsenic compounds detected. Concentration lethal. Source undetermined. Arsenic. Vera knows it was used in the old days as rat poison, rarely applied now, but in rural barns sometimes stocks remain from before the war. But how did it get into the cows' systems? And more importantly, did it get into the children? Next day, February 15th, Monday. Vera goes to the township office. The chairman is Harlan Pritchard, 53 years old, a massive man with a square face and cold eyes. Large office, portrait of President Roosevelt on the wall, desk of dark oak, rug on the floor. Pritchard receives her standing, doesn't offer her a seat. Vera explains the situation. Livestock deaths at the Caldwells, sick children, suspicion of poisoned well water. She requests permission to take water samples and send them for analysis to the county laboratory. Pritchard listens, face stone-like, then says, quote, 9. Vera objects. Quote, 10. Pritchard cuts her off. Vera tries to insist, but Pritchard raises his voice. Conversation over. Vera leaves angry and confused. Pritchard wields absolute power in the township. Without his permission, she cannot officially send samples. But she can take water herself, drive to Pittsburgh on the weekend, submit it under her own name, pay from her own pocket. She decides to do exactly that. February 16th, Tuesday. Vera comes to the Caldwells with a clean glass bottle. Raymond lowers the bucket into the well, draws water. Vera pours it into the bottle, seals it tight, wraps it in newspaper. Dorothea reports, "Wesley's a bit better, but Eleanor is bedridden with fever. The doctor from the county hospital came yesterday. Said if she doesn't improve, hospitalization is necessary. Vera advises taking her immediately." Dorothea shakes her head. Vera insists. Raymond hears the conversation, comes out of the house, says firmly, Vera doesn't back down. "I'm a veterinarian, but I see it. Children's symptoms and cows' symptoms are identical. That's not coincidence." Raymond stares at her for a long moment, then asks quietly, "You think someone did this deliberately?" Vera answers carefully, "I don't know, but we need to find out." Silence. Then Raymond says, "Pritchard." Vera doesn't understand. Raymond sits on the bench by the house, lights a cigarette, tells the story. __quote _21 _. Vera asks, __quote _22 _. Raymond lists examples. __quote _23 _. Vera listens, tries to process this. If it's true, if Pritchard is truly seeking revenge, this isn't just petty grudge holding. This is systematic. 20 years of deliberate sabotage. But prove it? How to prove Pritchard is poisoning the well? She needs evidence, witnesses, facts. She asks. Raymond shakes his head. Vera, Raymond. Vera understands. Anyone could come at night, lift the cover, drop poison in the water, leave. No traces. February 17th, Wednesday. Vera's day off. She takes the bus to Pittsburgh. 4 hours of bumping over potholes. Brings the water bottle to the county health department. The lab technician accepts it, says, "Results in 1 week." Vera pays from her own money, $9, a third of her monthly salary. Returns to the township late evening, exhausted but hopeful. February 18th, Thursday. Morning. Dorothea Caldwell arrives, crying. Eleanor was rushed to the county hospital overnight by ambulance. Bleeding started, they couldn't stop it. Condition critical, doctors fighting to save her. Vera hugs her, promises to visit. Dorothea leaves. Vera remains alone, stares out the window. In the yard, snow, wind, emptiness. If the girl dies, this is murder. And she, Vera, will be guilty of not acting faster. She decides. Can't wait for test results. Must search for evidence now. Must figure out who came to the well. Must find the poison source. Must talk to people in the township. Maybe someone saw something. Next 3 days she spends in conversations. Visits the Caldwells' neighbors. Asks carefully, "Did anyone see strangers by the well at night?" Most stay silent, afraid of Pritchard. But one elderly woman, Gertrude Ellsworth, 78 years old, lives across the road, says, quote, 29. Vera asks, quote, 30. Gertrude shakes her head. Vera writes it down. Asks, Gertrude gets scared. Vera explains about the poisoning, about the children. Gertrude thinks, then says, __quote _34 Vera promises. February 21st, Sunday. Vera drives to the county seat, to the sheriff's office. Deputy Sheriff Vernon Maddox, 43 years old, a lethargic man with the yellowed face of a heavy smoker. Listens to her story without enthusiasm, says, "Where's your proof? Got the water test?" Vera, "In 3 days." Maddox, "Come back when you have it. Until then, old lady's word? She didn't even see a face. That's not evidence." Vera. But you could at least question Pritchard. Check where he was that night. Maddox smirks. Pritchard's the cooperative chairman, respected man. I can't just interrogate him without grounds. Get me that test result, then we'll talk. Vera realizes. Maddox doesn't want to tangle with Pritchard, either scared or complicit. She leaves empty-handed. February 24th, Wednesday. Call from the laboratory. Vera drives to Pittsburgh, picks up the result, reads the report. __quote _40 __. Vera's blood runs cold. This is proof. Solid proof. She immediately drives to the county sheriff's office. Demands to see Sheriff Walter Drummond himself, 58 years old. Shows him the lab report. Drummond reads, face darkening. Asks questions. Vera tells everything. Dead cows, sick children, her suspicions, Gertrude's testimony, Raymond's story about Pritchard's grudge. Drummond listens carefully. Finally says, "This is serious. I'll open an investigation." Vera feels relief wash over her. Finally, someone is taking action. February 25th, Thursday. Sheriff Drummond and 2 deputies arrive in Clearwater Township. First, they inspect the Caldwell well, take additional samples for independent testing. Then they question Gertrude Ellsworth. She confirms her testimony, describes what she saw. Then they go to Pritchard's office. Vera isn't present at this conversation, but later, Drummond tells her, Pritchard denied everything, claimed he was home asleep that night. His wife confirmed it. He expressed shock at the accusations, threatened legal action for defamation. Drummond says to Vera, "We need more. Wife's alibi isn't worth much, but we need physical evidence. The poison had to come from somewhere. Where would Pritchard get arsenic?" Vera thinks. Old rat poison? Stored in someone's barn from before the war? Drummond nods. "I'll check farm supply records, see who purchased arsenic compounds in recent years." February 26th, Friday. Drummond's deputy searches township records at the general store and cooperative warehouse. Finds purchase ledgers. In 1938, Cooperative ordered 50 pounds of arsenic-based rat poison from a Pittsburgh supplier. Signed for by Harlan Pritchard, Cooperative Chairman. 40 pounds distributed to members for pest control. 10 pounds remain in cooperative warehouse storage. Drummond orders the warehouse searched. They find the storage room, locked. Force it open. Inside, shelves with tools, sacks of seed, chemical supplies. In the back corner, a wooden crate marked __quote _45 __. They open it. The crate should contain 10 one-pound tins according to records. They count. 7 tins. 3 missing. Drummond asks the warehouse manager, Lloyd Hutchins, 51 years old, when the crate was last inventoried. Hutchins checks records. __quote _46 __. Drummond. __quote _47 __. Hutchins, quote 48. This is significant. 3 pounds of arsenic missing in the past 5 weeks. Exactly when the poisonings began. February 27th, Saturday. Drummond questions Hutchins and the deputy manager separately. Both deny taking poison. Drummond believes them. They have no motive, no connection to the Caldwells. That leaves Pritchard. Drummond returns to Pritchard's office with a warrant to search his property. Pritchard protests vigorously, threatens to call his lawyer. Drummond is unmoved. They search Pritchard's house, garage, workshop. In the garage, behind a stack of lumber, they find a burlap sack. Inside, 2 sealed 1-pound tins of arsenic rat poison, labels matching the cooperative warehouse stock. Same manufacturer, same lot number. Drummond confronts Pritchard. __quote _49 __. Pritchard stammers. Tries to claim he took them for legitimate use, controlling rats on his own property. Drummond. Underscore underscore quote underscore 50 underscore underscore Pritchard has no good answer. Drummond arrests Pritchard on the spot. Charge: suspicion of malicious poisoning with intent to cause harm. Pritchard is handcuffed, driven to county jail. As they take him away, he shouts at Raymond Caldwell, who's watching from across the street. "This isn't over. You'll pay for this." Raymond stands silent, face grim. March 1st, Monday. Eleanor Caldwell dies in the county hospital. She is 5 years old. Cause of death? Acute arsenic poisoning. The doctors fought for 11 days but couldn't save her. Dorothea and Raymond are devastated. The funeral is held March 4th. Small service at the township church. Burial in the local cemetery. Entire township attends. Vera stands in the back, silent and shaken. She feels she failed. If she'd acted faster, pushed harder, maybe Eleanor would have lived. After the service, Raymond approaches her, says quietly, "Don't blame yourself. You did everything you could, more than anyone else. You're the reason we know what happened. You gave us justice." Vera can't speak, just nods. March 5th, Friday. Formal charges filed against Harlan Pritchard. Murder in the first degree, Eleanor Caldwell. Attempted murder, Wesley Caldwell. Malicious destruction of property, 3 cows. Reckless endangerment, the entire Caldwell family. District Attorney Clifford Baxter, 47 years old, takes the case personally. This is the biggest criminal case in the county in 20 years. March through May, investigation continues. Detectives interview everyone in the township, build a timeline, discover that Pritchard had been seen near the Caldwell property on multiple nights in late January and early February. A farmer, Edgar Finch, reports seeing Pritchard's truck parked on the dirt road behind the Caldwell farm around midnight on February 3rd. Didn't think much of it at the time, but now it seems significant. They also investigate Pritchard's finances. Find he withdrew $120 cash from his bank account in early January. Unusual since he normally pays by check. Theory: he used cash to purchase additional poison from black market sources, didn't want paper trail. They cannot prove this conclusively, but it fits the pattern. Medical examiner performs autopsy on the dead cows, confirms arsenic poisoning. Samples from the well continue showing elevated arsenic levels even after the well is drained and cleaned. Residue in the wood lining proves poison was introduced directly into the water. Trial set for June 15, 1943. Pritchard's lawyer, Morton Gallagher, 62 years old, experienced criminal defense attorney from Pittsburgh, argues for dismissal, claiming insufficient evidence. Motion denied. Trial proceeds. Courtroom packed. Entire township shows up. Vera is called as key witness. She testifies for 4 hours. Describes discovering the dead cows, testing the water, fighting to get authorities to take it seriously, the lab results proving arsenic contamination. Defense attorney cross-examines aggressively, tries to suggest contamination could have been accidental, natural mineral deposits. Vera calmly refutes every point with scientific data. Raymond Caldwell testifies about his history with Pritchard, the 20-year grudge. Defense objects, prejudicial, irrelevant. Judge allows it as establishing motive. Gertrude Ellsworth testifies about seeing a man at the well. Defense attacks her credibility. Elderly, poor eyesight, didn't identify face. But her description of clothing matches jacket found in Pritchard's closet. Sheriff Drummond testifies about finding the poison tins in Pritchard's garage, the missing warehouse inventory. Defense claims Pritchard legitimately removed poison for rodent control. Prosecution asks, then why hide it? Why not document the removal in warehouse records as required? No good answer. Medical examiner testifies about Eleanor's cause of death, describes the clinical findings without graphic detail. Courtroom goes silent. Several people weep. Wesley Caldwell, now 8 years old, testifies briefly, describes being sick, his sister being sick, becomes visibly distressed, has to be excused. Jury visibly affected. Pritchard takes the stand in his own defense, claims he is victim of conspiracy, that Raymond Caldwell fabricated evidence to frame him out of revenge, claims he never took poison from warehouse, suggests warehouse manager is lying, claims someone else must have poisoned the well, possibly Raymond himself, to create sympathy and blame Pritchard. This backfires spectacularly. Jury clearly doesn't believe him, appalled by the suggestion that a man would poison his own grandchildren. Closing arguments, June 22nd. Prosecution presents methodical case. Motive, 20-year grudge. Means, access to poison. Opportunity, observed near property, keys to warehouse. Physical evidence, poison in garage, missing inventory. Defense presents alternative theories, tries to raise reasonable doubt, claims circumstantial evidence insufficient for conviction. Jury deliberates. June 23rd. Verdict. Guilty on all counts. Courtroom erupts. Pritchard sits stone-faced. Judge immediately moves to sentencing. Pennsylvania law allows death penalty for first-degree murder. District attorney requests it. Defense pleads for life imprisonment, cites Pritchard's age, lack of prior violent convictions. Judge deliberates. June 24th. Sentencing. Judge delivers ruling. Harlan Pritchard, you have been found guilty of murdering a 5-year-old child through one of the most cruel and cowardly methods imaginable. You poisoned the water supply of an innocent family to satisfy a personal grudge spanning 2 decades. Your actions resulted in the death of Eleanor Caldwell, grave illness of her brother Wesley, death of livestock, and endangerment of an entire household. Your crime demonstrates premeditation, malice, and callous disregard for human life. This court sentences you to death by electrocution. Pritchard's lawyer immediately files appeal. Case goes to Pennsylvania Supreme Court. Appeal argues procedural errors, insufficient evidence, improper jury instructions. Supreme Court reviews. In November 1943, appeal denied. Sentence upheld. Further appeals to federal courts. All denied. By 1945, all legal options exhausted. Execution scheduled for March 1946. But in January 1946, Governor Edward Martin commutes sentence to life imprisonment without parole, citing Pritchard's age, he's now 56, and questions about the appropriateness of capital punishment given the circumstantial nature of some evidence. District Attorney furious, calls it miscarriage of justice. Caldwell family devastated but accepts it. Vera feels ambivalent. Death penalty wouldn't bring Eleanor back, but life imprisonment seems inadequate punishment for child murder. Pritchard transferred to Western State Penitentiary, spends rest of his life there. Initially placed in general population, but after multiple violent incidents, other inmates hate child killers, moved to protective custody, essentially solitary confinement. Meanwhile, life continues in Clearwater Township. The cooperative needs new leadership. Emergency election held April 1943. Raymond Caldwell, despite his age, nominated. He declines, says he's too old, too tired. Instead, a younger farmer, Thomas Garrett, 38 years old, elected chairman. Honest man, competent administrator. Township begins recovering. Vera continues working as veterinarian. Reputation grows. People respect her for fighting when everyone else stayed silent. She receives job offers from larger practices in Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, turns them all down, stays in Clearwater, feels responsible to the community, especially the Caldwells. Wesley Caldwell recovers physically, though psychological scars remain. Nightmares, anxiety about food and water. Vera visits regularly, brings him books, talks to him. Gradually, he improves. Smart boy, does well in school. Dorothea and Raymond raise him carefully, protectively. Years pass. War ends 1945. Boys return from Europe and Pacific. Township celebrates. Life slowly returns to normal, though Eleanor's death never forgotten. Her grave becomes small memorial. People leave flowers, especially on her birthday. 1953. Wesley graduates high school, top of his class, wins scholarship to University of Pennsylvania, studies medicine, wants to become doctor, help people, prevent suffering, clear influence of trauma. 1956. Wesley returns for summer break from medical school. Now 20 years old, tall, serious, compassionate. He and Vera spend time together, long walks, deep conversations. Something develops between them, not romantic initially, more like deep mutual understanding born from shared trauma. 1958. Wesley finishes medical school, does residency in Pittsburgh, returns to Clearwater Township to open practice as family doctor. The township desperately needs physician, old doctor retired, nearest hospital 40 miles away. Wesley rents office space, sets up clinic. Modest operation, but he's dedicated. 1959. Wesley and Vera's relationship deepens. Age difference. He's 23, she's 43. Causes gossip, but they don't care. Both are outsiders in their way. He's the boy who was poisoned. She's the woman who fought the system. They understand each other. July 12, 1960. They marry. Quiet ceremony in Township Church. Guests include townspeople, the Caldwells, colleagues. Raymond walks Vera down the aisle. His daughter-in-law, Wesley's mother, died in 1955 of cancer, and Raymond considers Vera nearly a daughter. Dorothea cries from happiness, her grandson marrying the woman who avenged Eleanor. Vera and Wesley live in her house by the veterinary office. Vera continues as veterinarian, Wesley as doctor. They don't have children. Vera's now 44, too late, and health not ideal, but they're happy. Quiet happiness of people who survived horror and chose life. 1961. Raymond Caldwell dies peacefully at home, age 80. Entire township attends funeral. He's buried in the family plot next to Eleanor's grave. Vera and Wesley stand together, silent. August 1963. Pritchard dies in prison. He's 73 years old. Cause of death? Stroke. He served 20 years of life sentence. Sheriff Drummond calls Vera, informs her, asks, "Will you attend the funeral?" Vera answers, "No." Drummond, "His relatives are burying him here in the township, cemetery. Grave will be near Eleanor Caldwell's." Vera, silent, then says, "Let him lie there. I don't care." She doesn't go. Wesley doesn't either. Dorothea doesn't. From the entire township, 5 people attend, distant Pritchard relatives from another county. They dig the grave at cemetery's edge, far from others. Headstone placed without photo. Name, dates, nothing more. Within a month, someone smashes the headstone. It's replaced. Smashed again. After third time, they stop replacing it. Grave overgrows with weeds, becomes indistinguishable from earth. 1964. Dorothea Caldwell dies at age 80. She's buried next to Raymond, next to Eleanor. The family plot complete except for the living. Vera lives in the township for rest of her life. Retired 1968, age 52, health declining, heart problems, blood pressure. Wesley practices medicine until 1985, then also retires. They live quietly, tend garden, receive rare visitors. 1975. Journalist from Pittsburgh arrives, writing article about the Pritchard case. 32 years passed, but story still remembered. Wants to interview Vera. She refuses, says, "That was long ago. I don't want to remember." Journalist insists, promises anonymity. Vera refuses again. Eventually, he leaves empty-handed. January 1983. Vera falls seriously ill, lung cancer, advanced stage. Wesley cares for her at home, but medicine is powerless. She dies January 28, 1983, age 67. Buried in same cemetery, near the Caldwells. At funeral, townspeople, former colleagues, Wesley. He gives eulogy. She was an honest person. She wasn't afraid of truth. She saved me and many others. I'm grateful for every day we spent together. Wesley lives several more years alone, pens his wife's grave, his grandparents' graves, Eleanor's grave. He's last of the Caldwell family who remembers that story. His cousin Gerald left for New York in the 60s, contact lost. 2003. 40 years after Eleanor's death, Wesley gives interview to local newspaper. He's 67, still practicing medicine part-time, returned after retirement because no one else available. Tells the whole story about Pritchard, poisoning, Vera, the trial. Says, I want people to remember, evil doesn't disappear by itself. It must be stopped. Vera stopped it. She's a hero. Article published March 2003, anniversary of Eleanor's death. Thousands read it across the county. Some comment. __quote _61 __. Others. __quote _62 __. Some. __quote _63 __. Wesley reads comments, closes newspaper, looks out window. Outside, early spring, melting snow, township awakening. Same township where 60 years ago this story began, where a girl died from another's revenge, where a woman veterinarian decided to fight when everyone stayed silent, where truth won, but victory was bitter. He stands, puts on coat, walks to cemetery, stops at Vera's grave, then Eleanor's. Stands silently. Wind sways bare branches. Somewhere a cardinal sings. Quiet. Wesley speaks aloud, addressing the graves. I remember. Always will. Then turns, walks home. Life continues. Memory remains. Story doesn't end in triumph, but in silence. Pritchard dead and forgotten. Eleanor dead and remembered. Vera dead and respected. Wesley alive and carrying memory. Township lives ordinary life. People work, have children, die, bury. None of the young know what happened 60 years ago. But Wesley knows. And while he lives, story won't die. He returns home, sits by window with cup of coffee, watches the street. Down the street walks a woman with a child. Child laughs, reaches for a puddle. Woman smiles. Ordinary life, peaceful. Wesley thinks, this is what Vera fought for, so children would live, so evil wouldn't win, so truth would matter more than fear. She achieved it. Not completely, not forever, but achieved it. And that's significant. He finishes coffee, sets cup on table, stands, goes to study. On wall hangs photograph of Vera, young, in white veterinary coat with medical bag, smiling at camera. Wesley looks at photo, says quietly, thank you, then leaves. And in the township, evening falls. Lights come on in windows. Smoke rises from chimneys. Dogs bark. Ordinary evening in ordinary township, where once horror happened, but horror was defeated. Not loudly, not spectacularly, but quietly, persistently, honestly, by the hands of a simple woman who didn't back down. And that's the main thing, not that evil exists, but that someone finds strength to resist it, even if it costs everything, even if victory is incomplete, even if no one says thank you. Vera resisted, and won, and that's enough for the story to have meaning. 2008. Wesley, now 72 years old, health declining. Arthritis makes it hard to walk to cemetery as often, but he still goes every week. Brings flowers to 3 graves, Vera, Eleanor, his grandparents. Talks to them quietly, tells them township news, reminds them they're not forgotten. Young families move into Clearwater Township, attracted by cheaper land, quiet life away from cities. They don't know the history. Their children play in yards, drink from wells, grow up safe. Wesley watches them, feels satisfaction. This safety, purchased by Vera's courage 65 years ago. 2010. Township Historical Society asks Wesley to give presentation about the Pritchard case for local school. He agrees. Stands before classroom of teenagers, tells story. They listen, rapt. One girl asks, "Why didn't anyone help Miss Thornton sooner?" Wesley answers honestly. Fear. People were afraid of Pritchard, afraid to lose jobs, homes, standing in community. Fear makes people silent. Courage is rare. Another student asks, "If it happened today, would it be different?" Wesley thinks. Maybe. Better forensics, faster communication, stronger legal protections. But human nature? Same. There will always be people like Pritchard, vindictive, patient, cruel. And there will always need to be people like Vera, brave enough to stand up. Teacher thanks him. Students applaud. As Wesley leaves, several approach, ask questions. One boy, about 16, says his family drinks well water. Asks if it's safe. Wesley smiles gently. __quote _70 _ 2012. Wesley suffers mild stroke. Recovers mostly, but left side weakened. Can no longer practice medicine. Retires completely this time. Spends days reading, tending small garden, receiving visitors. Township doctor, young woman named Margaret Chen, visits weekly to check on him. She knows the story, read the newspaper article, considers Wesley a legend. He waves off the praise. Quote, 71-2015. 72nd anniversary of Eleanor's death. Wesley too weak to walk to cemetery. Margaret drives him. They stand together at the graves. Wesley places flowers. Margaret notices Pritchard's overgrown grave in distance, asks about it. Wesley says simply, quote, 72, 2017. Wesley hospitalized with pneumonia. Recovers but barely. Moved to nursing facility in county seat. Clearwater Township has no such facility, too small. He hates leaving, but body no longer cooperates. Margaret visits often, brings news from Township, tells him Clearwater Elementary School renamed library _ quote _ 73 _ in honor of her courage and dedication to truth. Wesley cries. First time Margaret has seen him cry. 2018, spring. Wesley's health deteriorating. Knows the end is near. Asks Margaret to arrange one final trip to Clearwater. She does. Wheelchair, ambulance, full medical precautions. They arrive at cemetery. Wesley sits in wheelchair before 4 graves. Vera, Eleanor, Raymond, Dorothea. He speaks aloud, voice weak but clear. I kept my promise. I remembered. I told the story. People know what you did, Vera. They know what happened to you, Eleanor. You didn't die forgotten. Your deaths meant something. Justice came. Truth won. I made sure of it. Wind blows through cemetery. Spring flowers blooming on graves. Daffodils, tulips, planted by volunteers from Historical Society. Beautiful. Peaceful. Wesley continues. I'm tired now. Ready to rest. I'll see you soon. Save a place for me. He smiles. Margaret, standing behind wheelchair, wipes tears. They return to nursing facility. Wesley sleeps most of the way. When they arrive, he thanks Margaret. For everything. For caring. For remembering. Don't let people forget. She promises. August 2018. Wesley Caldwell dies peacefully in his sleep. Age 82. Last surviving member of family directly affected by Pritchard's crime. Local newspaper runs obituary, retells entire story. Hundreds attend funeral in Clearwater Township. He's buried in family plot, between his grandparents and his sister Eleanor. The circle complete. At graveside service, Margaret speaks. Wesley lived 75 years after poison nearly killed him. He became doctor, helped thousands, kept memory alive, honored those who saved him. He turned trauma into purpose. He transformed suffering into meaning. That's heroism. Not the loud kind, but the quiet, persistent kind that actually changes lives. After funeral, people linger. Look at 5 graves together. Raymond, Dorothea, Eleanor, Vera, Wesley. 5 people connected by tragedy and love. Historical Society places bronze plaque near family plot. In memory of the Caldwell family and Dr. Vera Thornton, who demonstrated courage, justice, and truth in the face of evil. 1943 to 2018. In distance, barely visible through overgrown grass, Pritchard's unmarked grave. No plaque, no flowers, no visitors. Exactly as it should be. Years continue. Township changes. Population grows. New businesses open. Old families die out. New ones arrive. But every March, Historical Society holds remembrance ceremony at cemetery. Tells story to new generation. Explains why courage matters. Why silence enables evil. Why one person can make difference. 2023. 80th anniversary of Eleanor's death. 75th anniversary of trial. County Courthouse designates historical marker outside building. Site of Commonwealth versus Pritchard, 1943. Landmark case demonstrating importance of scientific evidence, persistent investigation, and citizen courage in pursuit of justice. Clearwater Township dedicates small memorial park on site of old Caldwell Farm. Bronze statue, woman in veterinary coat, kneeling beside cow, medical bag open, expression determined. Plaque reads, Dr. Vera May Thornton, 1916 to 1983. Veterinarian, truth seeker, hero. When others stayed silent, she spoke. When others looked away, she investigated. When evil threatened innocence, she stood firm. Her courage saved lives and proved that justice, though delayed, can prevail. Park includes interpretive signs telling full story. Families visit. Children play on grass where once poisoned cows died. Parents read signs, teach kids about right and wrong, about speaking up, about not ignoring warning signs. One mother, reading about Eleanor's symptoms matching the cows, tells her daughter, "See, Dr. Thornton paid attention. She noticed pattern. She trusted her knowledge. She didn't dismiss her concerns. That's how you solve problems. Observation, evidence, courage to act." Daughter nods, absorbing lesson. Nearby, old Caldwell well preserved under glass case. Warning sign. Historic site. 1943 arsenic poisoning. Do not open. Educational display explains how poison was detected, how investigation unfolded, how justice was achieved. Forensic science students visit. Study case as early example of toxicology in criminal prosecution. University of Pennsylvania Veterinary School establishes Vera Thornton Award, given annually to student demonstrating outstanding commitment to rural veterinary medicine and public health advocacy. First recipient, young woman from Iowa, says in acceptance speech, Dr. Thornton showed that veterinarians are public health guardians. Animals and humans share environment, share risks. Paying attention to animal deaths can prevent human deaths. That's the lesson. That's the legacy. Award grows in prestige. Recipients go on to distinguished careers. Some investigate disease outbreaks. Some fight agricultural corruption. Some advocate for food safety. All carry forward Vera's principle. Scientific truth matters more than political convenience. 2043. 100th anniversary of Eleanor's death. Clearwater Township, now absorbed into expanding Pittsburgh suburbs, holds major commemoration. Survivors. None. But descendants attend. Gerald Caldwell's grandchildren come from New York. Michael Caldwell's great-grandchildren from Philadelphia. They meet for first time in decades, connected by shared history. Ceremony at cemetery. Speeches by historians, local officials, victims' rights advocates. They discuss cases' lasting impact, strengthened water quality regulations, improved rural law enforcement coordination, greater respect for scientific expertise in criminal investigations. Eleanor's death, they note, led to systemic changes that protected countless others. One speaker, prosecutor from District Attorney's Office, says, "Pritchard counted on silence, counted on fear, counted on isolation keeping his crimes hidden. He didn't count on Dr. Thornton, didn't count on someone who valued truth more than safety, justice more than comfort. One person broke the silence. One person demanded accountability. One person changed everything. Remember her name. Honor her courage. Follow her example." After ceremony, people walk through Memorial Park. New generation of children play, unaware of horror this ground witnessed. That ignorance is a gift, purchased by Vera's refusal to look away. As sun sets, last visitors leave cemetery. 5 graves stand together, well-maintained, flowers fresh. Wind moves through trees. Birds sing evening songs. Peace. In distance, Pritchard's grave completely invisible now, consumed by weeds and time. No one remembers where exactly it is. No one cares. Erasure complete. Deserved. And that's the final justice. Evil forgotten. Good remembered. Truth preserved. Courage honored. Vera Mae Thornton, veterinarian from small Pennsylvania township, who in dark winter of 1943 saw wrong and refused to ignore it, who risked everything to protect children she barely knew, who stood alone against power and corruption and won. Her name lives on. Her story teaches. Her example inspires. Not because she was extraordinary person with special gifts, because she was ordinary person who made extraordinary choice. To care, to investigate, to persist, to demand justice. That choice available to everyone. That's the point. That's why story matters. Evil exists, always has, always will. But so does courage, so does integrity, so does the human capacity to say, quote 86 Vera said it. Vera proved it. Vera won. And because she did, children in Clearwater Township and beyond drink clean water, play safely, grow up protected. Not because the world is perfect, because someone cared enough to make it better. That's the legacy. That's the meaning. That's why, 100 years later, we still tell this story. Not to dwell on horror, to celebrate courage, to remind ourselves that one person, armed with nothing but truth and determination, can defeat evil that seems unstoppable. Vera did it. Others can too. Must too. The story ends. The lesson continues. Remember Eleanor Caldwell, age 5, who died because evil went unchallenged too long. Remember Vera Thornton, veterinarian, who challenged it and won. Remember that silence enables evil. Voice defeats it. Remember that justice delayed is injustice. But justice achieved, however late, still counts. Remember that ordinary people can do extraordinary things when they choose courage over comfort. Remember, honor, act. That's what Vera would want. That's what Eleanor deserves. That's what we owe them both.